Hello everyone, Ilda here from I Love Doing All Things Crafty, and welcome back to another process video. For my card today, I'm sharing the simple, sparkly friendship card. Perfect for sending a friend that you're missing or thinking about. So let me just show you some of the supplies you will need to create this card. The script friend die comes from the Spring Bouquet coordinating die set. The frame comes from the dotted pattern set 3 creative dies. The stencil is the mosaic hearts. The I Miss You from the Jawsome stamp set. For glue, I'm using the Studio Katia glue, which happens to be my favorite kind of glue. 1 iridescent bubble for the eye on the friend, and then all these gorgeous crystals. I'll make sure to have all these linked down below in the video description in case you missed any of these. You will also need Distress Oxide inks shown above and some blending brushes, a palette knife, and of course some Moonstone Glimmer paste. So I'm starting off by creating a mask using some blue painter's tape onto the mosaic hearts stencil. For this card, I just want 3 of the hearts to peek through. And once I have my paper in the right position, I'm just gonna use some more painter's tape and mask off the rest of the area. In the first heart, I'm gonna blend out some mustard seed Distress Oxide ink, and then in the middle, some picked raspberry, and then I'm gonna finish off with some peacock feathers. And then I'm going to shift over the color a little bit to get a mix and create an orange and a purple-like color, which, as you can see, results in a rainbow-like blend without having to use all those colors. If I were to do this again, I would have wiped the excess color off of the stencil before adding my glimmer paste. As you can see, it can contaminate into the next color, so to avoid too much contamination, I just wiped the palette knife in between. Now, while I wait for the glimmer paste to dry, I'm just going to wipe off my stencil. Try not to let the glimmer paste dry on your stencil or it may ruin it. I just use a baby wipe until I can get it into the sink and properly wash it. I also do the same thing with my blending brushes. Now that the glimmer paste on the hearts are dry, I'm just going to take the large die from the dotted pattern set 3 and run it through the die cut machine. Before I add anything else to the card panel, I want to stamp out my sentiment. And I'm just going to use the I Miss You stamp from the Jawsome stamp set. At this point, I'm not sure where I want that friend die to sit on my card, so I'm going to die cut it first and then play around with the design. I like to use the negative part of the die to stack my die cuts and glue them all together. This one ends up being 3 layers thick, but you can cut out as many layers as you like. Before I glue my friend onto the card panel, I'm just going to stamp out the I Miss You with a stamp positioner. For a little more pop of color, I'm just going to add some crystals to the card front. And I'm going through my crystals and picking out the ones that are actually transparent and see-through. So the yellow ones I'm using are the Sunny Topaz crystals, the pink ones are the October crystals, and the blue ones are the March crystals. And now I'm just playing with the arrangement before I commit to gluing them onto the card front. At this point, I was almost ready to glue it to my card base, and then I thought, no, it doesn't look right to me. I'm going to try it on a black card base. And I still wasn't happy with the background, so I thought, I'm just going to add some color to match the colored hearts. So just along the fold of the card, I'm just going to add some painter's tape to mask off the front panel of the card base. And then I'm just going to use my blending brushes in the same color of the Distress Oxide inks and blend them onto the edge of the card panel, just enough to allow some of the color to peek through. As you can see, the blending here wasn't great, partially because the brushes were still wet from me wiping them on the baby wipes, but it's really okay as you don't see much of it anyways. And once I add the glimmer paste to the top, you won't be able to see the bad blend at all. To speed up the drying time, I'm just going to add a little heat to it with my heat gun and then very carefully remove that painter's tape. Now I'm just going to apply some glue to the back of the panel and glue it directly onto that glittery card base. And now finally I can glue on the friend to the card front. And for the dot of the eye, I'm just going to use an iridescent bubble. And that pretty much is it for this card. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video today and maybe learned some tips and tricks for future cards. For more inspiration using these products, stop by the Studio Katia blog. Thank you all for spending some time with me today, and until next time everyone, happy crafting! Bye!